Welcome to Denver Startup Week. I'm Ben Data, co-chair of DSW. This year marks the 10-year anniversary of Denver Startup Week. This community has been the catalyst for lots of change over the past decade, and this week we're coming together to celebrate the past and dream big for the future. We are able to bring Denver Startup Week to this community thanks to our 2021 sponsors. Thank you to our HQ and title sponsor, Amazon, and our title sponsors, whose leadership makes this week come to life. Capital One Cafe, Downtown Denver Partnership, Fluid Truck, Hotel Engine, and WeWork. And our track sponsors, who have made all of the great content you're hearing today possible. Founder Track, Kickstart, Growth Track, Friday Health Plans, Developer Track, Quizlet, Product Track, Palantir, Designer Track, Battery 621 in the Public Works, People Track, Exactly, and Spotlight event sponsor, Strat Labs. Our headline event sponsors are bringing the excitement this week. Thank you to B-Side Fun, Colorado Public Radio, Comcast, Coors Brewing Company, Denver Pavilions, Entrepreneurship at the University of Denver, Gusto, JP Morgan Chase, Method, Moss Adams, Pine Insurance, Promontory Mortgage Path, Red Bull Basement, Southwest, Tattered Cover, and VF Venture Foundry. Finally, thank you to our partner and member sponsors listed on the screen. Please say thank you to these companies as you enjoy our hybrid Denver Startup Week. And don't forget to use hashtag #DenStartupWeek to share your experience and moments of inspiration on social media. Have a great week.
Welcome to this session of Denver Startup Week. I'm Serene Pappenfuss, a principal at Kickstart Fund. We're on a mission to build great companies in the Wild West by backing the boldest entrepreneurs with capital, community, and expertise for the journey. A lot of VCs happen to invest in Colorado. At Kickstart, we focus on it. We love our Colorado startups, Sondermind, Nomad, Pomp, and Havenly, just to name a few. Because we were among the first seed funds in the region, we know what it's like to start something before others understand your vision, which means we're willing to lead investments in promising teams. We use our experiences to grow your startup and recruit top talent. Our portfolio is filled with visionary founders like you who are committed to moving the whole ecosystem together. It's the network effect in full effect. Raising venture capital is more than swapping shares for money. It's inviting the right investors to complement your team. We hope we'll be your choice for seed funding in the Mountain West, and we hope you enjoy this session.
Thank you for joining us for the 10th anniversary of Denver Startup Week. At Denver Startup Week, we strive to make all of our sessions a space where attendees can connect, learn, and grow, regardless of age, gender identity, gender expression, race, ability, sexual orientation, or the combination of those identities. There's something for everyone at DSW, thanks to all of our community members who submitted their best content to make this week what it is. And thank you for joining us. Thank you to our sponsors for their support in helping us to keep DSW free and accessible for all, especially our Founder Track sponsor, Kickstart. With that, please enjoy this session and the entire week ahead.
Thank you for attending our session for the Denver Startup Week. We have pre-recorded the first part of this program, but please put your questions in the chat throughout. We'll plan on answering these live towards the end of the hour. Hi all, welcome to Got Startup Questions. Your public library has answers. Have you been asking questions like, what's your target market? Who are your competitors? Where should you locate your business? Who are your partners? Your public libraries can help. My name is Paul Weinrauch. I am the current department chair at Red Rocks Community College. I have been using the resources between several public libraries to expand my business for 15 plus years. And I'm now connecting my students to these amazing people. Public libraries have changed my way of life of doing business, and I'm honored to be here today as the moderator. I'm excited to let everyone introduce themselves. So we'll go ahead and get started with Amanda.
Hi, Jay. Thanks so much. Yeah, so my name is Amanda Armstrong, and I am the business librarian for the Arapahoe library system. I've been in this role for about 2 months, but I was a business librarian for 5 years before that, and love helping people like Paul find data for their businesses.
Thanks, Amanda. Jay?
Hi, everyone. And thank you, Paul. My name is Jay Ballenberger. I am the small business support librarian at Denver Public Library. I use he, him pronouns in case you're interested. And I have been in this role for about 2 years. I have a background in academic libraries where I was an instruction librarian. So this job really appealed to me because it was a place to learn a new skill. I was not a business librarian prior. But I really love teaching about how to use libraries, how to do research. And that's something that I think fit in really well with this position. So I've been learning along with all the other small business owners and entrepreneurs on how to use all these resources over the past few years. And I think I've cut my teeth pretty decently now. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay. And Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily Crowley with Jefferson County Public Library, where I'm one of the business liaison librarians. And our team loves connecting our community with the resources and information that they need. So we really enjoy being a part of that process for patrons and our business community. And we just really appreciate this opportunity to get the word out. So thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thank you all. Well, let's go ahead and get started with some questions. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this first question. How do you see your library's role in the entrepreneurial system? Who would like to get going on that?
I'll happily chime in there. I believe that one of the big things that I've found is that a lot of people who approach us are wanting to improve their lives in certain ways or improve their livelihoods. They may be stuck in jobs that they aren't thrilled with. They may just, they've had an idea in the back of their mind for a long time, or a skill that they want to maybe monetize and do something that they love. So we get to help those people, and it's incredibly gratifying to be able to help in that capacity. I've been in situations that are similar to that. So, I understand the drive for wanting to do that. So I think we also get to help a lot of folks who are just getting started that don't know what exists, and we get to expose them to a really wide range of resources that a lot of times they're not, or had no clue existed, and they didn't know that there was the support there to help guide them through the sometimes frustrating parts of learning how to use these resources. So that's a big part of it too. We really are helping folks, make the best decisions possible. And we have really high quality resources, and again, that support. And if it's something that we don't have access to, we have partners, and we can refer people to other resources and other people, other support organizations around the state, the metro area. So that's how I think we fit into the entrepreneurial ecosystem.
Thanks, Jay. It definitely can get a little overwhelming. Amanda?
Yeah, I was going to go right in with Jay. I agree completely. I feel like the library serves as a partner and as a connector for a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs. We have taken the time to know the landscape of who else is out there and who can help, and we'll talk about that more later, I think. And so in addition to helping people get good data, we're trying to find the right folks to help them move forward, because often it's not just what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah. Emily, did you want to follow up with anything?
I agree wholeheartedly with what Jay and Amanda have already said. And just to add a little bit, it's just a really nice thing to be able to help people along the way in different parts of their business journey. So whether you're at the beginning, the middle, looking to expand, or kind of switch directions, the library has services and support and information for entrepreneurs. So like Amanda just said, the connecting part is really important. We have information, but we also have these community links that can really be valuable as well. So it's a great position to be in, and we can get you what you need in the best possible place.
Thanks, Emily. Well, we certainly appreciate it. So kind of kind of thinking about, I would love to hear some examples from all of y'all of what it's been like for people that come in and go through the process of connecting with y'all. So I would love to hear a case study. Jay, we'd love to start with you.
Yeah, great. I thought of a customer. We call our patrons customers. It varies from library to library, but so I'm used to saying that. So a customer approached me, and I've been working with them on and off for a while. Actually, now they'll get back in touch with me when they run into new questions and need to kind of think through some things. But it was a really neat idea for sort of a coffee shop / playhouse type place that integrated a lot of parenting support. What they were really trying to figure out was where something like this might best find itself, or where they should place themselves within the Denver area. And they really were trying to hone in on that. They basically also, it was interesting, they explored this being sort of a for-profit and with a nonprofit side to it. So when I heard that, I realized too that they might be interested in speaking to our nonprofit librarian that we also have at the Denver Public Library, and a number of other libraries do that same type of thing. So they're more, experts in finding grants and that type of thing. So referred them to them, and I think they had a little conversation. And I think what happened is they didn't think that the nonprofit side was going to be a feasible way to take it at the moment. But it's fine. They didn't know, and they found out. We were seeking out birth projections, which was something that they needed to do because they were looking to have this be a business that supported young families. And the census data wasn't quite getting as granular as we were hoping it would get. And so I was Googling around and looking for some open web resources, found a link through the city and county of Denver's government websites referring to something that was called a Denver neighborhood birth query. And clicking on it first of all, it seemed to support exactly what they were needing and showing rates of births throughout the different Denver neighborhoods. But guess what happened? The 404 error happened. And so I clicked on that link and couldn't find it anywhere. And it was so frustrating. But the serendipity sort of came about at that point where I reached out to my partner, who is actually works for the state, and they were able to hook me up with somebody that works with the data collection and things at the state level. They were able to tell me that did exist. They continue to do that, but they don't make it publicly available. And so we reached out to them and learned that they make ad hoc records available in that way. That's not always available just on the open web. So it was great. We were able to put them in contact with them, run that report for them, and they were able to do, really magical things with it all. So it was really neat to be able to do that. We later needed to narrow again down some places that they had settled on. They found about 3 different areas in the Denver area, and we have a really great tool, a lot of us at our libraries, called Demographics Now, that, as the name implies, goes over a lot of demographic stuff, but there's some neat psychographic information in there, and one in particular is a Simmons psychographic report that basically we were able to then map out the concentrations of things like people who are expecting births, the presence of children aged 2 to 5, so these areas. And so we could see the concentrations of where might be best from those 3 choices they made. So they're in the process of making those choices, but I thought that was a great example of the routes that we will take and which directions we'll go to try to find answers. And those 404 errors aren't going to stop us. Just try us.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jay. That was an amazing example. Emily, would love to hear one of yours.
Yeah, so a patron, we call them patrons at Jefferson County. We all have our little differences. And he reached out to our team for some help, and he was not skeptical, but he really was not sure what the library could do for him. But he had heard from somebody else like, oh, check with the library for the information you're looking for. So he already had a business. It was up and running, and he was looking for some demographic data, and he needed some statistics for the Denver metro area. I believe that he was mainly looking at machining and that sort of thing for Denver. And he needed to know who was in business, where they were. He was his customer base were other businesses. So he was locating things geographically. He was trying to get a sense of what the market was looking like, what the health was. And so we were able to connect him with a couple of products that the library subscribes to that really answered a lot of his questions in a very straightforward way without having to do a lot of just free form internet searching. It's a real hit or miss process, and a lot of people realize that and then kind of circle back to the library afterwards because they're like, gosh, I don't have 80 plus hours a week just to be mining for data to put reports together. And so we have a few things that can be nicely dovetailed. Demographics Now is one, and there are some others that are more directory based that also can really maximize people's time when they're looking for business research material, and whether you're starting out and doing it for a business plan, or in his particular case, when he was evaluating his next steps and where he was going to go in the future. So we sat down with him and had a really productive appointment. And at the end, I threw in some extra stuff about finding manufacturing information from the Thomas Register, which he had never looked at, never really heard of, and was kind of blown away by the fact that that's just freely available online. It's sort of a specialized thing that, libraries often kind of point you towards, but anybody can get to it, but you have to know. And how do you know to ask if you don't already know that it's there? So that's kind of the cyclical thing that we're trying to break people out of. So he was super excited, ready to get going on his own. We got him started. He knew where his next steps where they lay. And was, just kind of raring to go after we kind of pointed him in the right direction. So his follow-up was just, oh my gosh, I had no idea that you could do this, help me save this much time and effort and energy. And it was just such a pleasure to, be able to do that, to connect him with that information, those resources that would really make his time, better spent. So yeah, it was a good one.
Thanks, Emily. I think it's great that the small business owners and entrepreneurs don't have to do this by themselves. And there's so much help out there. Amanda.
Yeah, so what do you think? Hair products for coarse hair or goat farm?
Definitely goat farm.
Goat farm. Well, this was a great, fun appointment that was a really good example of how this process often works. As Emily said, you really don't know what you don't know. And the patron, we call them patrons at Arapahoe Library, contacted me and was like, I want to start a goat farm and I have no idea what that entails. And so we dove into it. Our appointment started with what we librarians like to call a reference interview, but don't worry, it's nothing like crazy. We just ask some questions so that we can be more helpful. And so I found out that this person really wanted this goat farm. And from there, she wanted to build on that and potentially have like a B&B and maybe some sort of classes. And so in talking through it, we realized that the first thing she really needed was perhaps some experience with a goat farm. So she'd already found some goat farms she's going to tour, and I'm going to use one of those resources Emily mentioned. This one's called Data Axle. It's one of the directories to see if I can find more goat farms for her. The more goat farms, the better. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I'm going to look on, I've been looking on the web for examples of potential internships at farms. After that, she had a very interesting question. She said, someone told me I should find out where farmers hang out. She's like, I don't know how you do that. And so the first thing that popped to mind for me was the Colorado Extension Office. And we have a couple here in Colorado. They're typically with our land grant universities. And so I gave her a list of all of our extension offices so that she'd have the ability to reach out to them, because they often work with our farmers and help with grants and education. And so that was a really exciting opportunity, because not only could she possibly meet farmers, but she might meet farmers who were interested in doing new things. And so that was all of these different things that were just really about the initial starting point of a business and finding those neat connectors that will help her take this to the next step.
Thanks, Amanda. That was great. I really appreciate all those examples. They're phenomenal. It totally gives me tons of my own ideas. And even being part of this, I'm still learning things on a regular basis from y'all, which is just amazing. For everyone that's listening right now, don't forget, if you have questions as they're coming up, please add them to the chat now and throughout for the next 15, 30 minutes as we keep going through some other questions. So turning back to another question. So Jay, this one's for you. What are some typical questions you get from entrepreneurs and startups?
Yeah, that is a great one. And they run the gamut. I sort of jotted a few down that I thought of that sort of go from more generic kind of questions to the more specific. And I'm sure we've all run into some very interesting questions doing this type of stuff. But a few examples are, can you help me build my business plan, or help me understand how to get going on a business plan? Maybe something along the lines of, I need your help understanding who my target market might be. I need data about my industry. Can you help me find out about my industry? I need to understand the Denver specific market. What's happening in the Denver area? Traffic trends. Do you have information that show how much traffic is going by certain intersections? Those types of things. I think I recently had one about, can you help me locate manufacturers in the Denver area? So it really runs the gamut, from how do we start up, from, who do we reach out to register our business, all the way to the specifics of sourcing particular types of items for their business. So yeah, it runs the gamut. I continue to get new questions that have not been posed to me before, and it's a huge learning experience. Again, I always tell the small business owners, if I don't know something, we're going to be learning it together. I'm not going to give up. So,
That's awesome.
And again, we have such networks, even amongst the librarians here, and other folks that we can reach out to again. So just ask the question. If it's not a great, perfect question, we'll help refine that question, and we'll start figuring out some answers for it.
Thanks, Jay. Amanda, did you have any typical questions that you hear? Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. So Jay did a great job covering the majority of them. Some of the other ones I get are, how do I choose what type of business to register? And so there's great resources for that. And then the other thing I always like to mention is, you don't have to know the questions. We're happy to talk through what you've done and what you're thinking about, and we can help, as librarians, help identify what sort of questions or answers might move you forward and get you information that will be helpful. That's part of our skill set and why we love to do what we do.
Thanks, Amanda. So Emily, are these resources for small, medium, large businesses? Who are people that are generally reaching out?
I would say that for the most part, we at the public library are mostly supporting and able to most effectively help a small business or maybe a medium size. If you get into the ranks of a really large business or corporation, they may already have really specific resources and information and paths to get what they want that are maybe beyond what we can do for our subscription stuff. So a lot of our questions and our best support is for people doing startups, new to the industry, people who are kind of on their own, or up to about a medium size, I would say. But ask your question and we'll connect you to the right people no matter what size. So you can always come and ask.
Awesome. Thank you. So kind of recapping kind of some of the things that I've heard. So I can, but I don't have to have my business started before I come to y'all, correct, Amanda? Is that?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. In fact, some of the most fun appointments I've had are people who are like, I'm thinking of starting a business and I'm considering these 3 or 4 things. And that's a great point to come to us, because we can help you find out how many competitors you have, how large the market is in the area and really hone down your business idea and choose a business that will potentially succeed in the area. No need to have a business selected or even a glimmer. You don't need to know exactly what kind of business you could have. We can also give you lists of all the different kinds of businesses you could start.
And that's great, because my follow-up question was, is there anything an entrepreneur needs to know before they contact you? Jay?
Not necessarily, no. I would say, of course, it's good to know some things, but no, I think no. I think if you are just curious about what the library offers, and again, we all offer slightly different resources. Not everything that we have is available elsewhere, and vice versa. So, I think that you do your best to articulate what it is that you think you need. And then we can start, it might fit squarely into the types of things that we tend to try to expose people to and show them how to use. And other times it's a little different than what we tend to do. And we might help maybe guide them back to the kinds of things that we tend to focus on a little bit more. Again, it runs the gamut. So without asking the question, as Emily mentioned, we can't start, so we have to be able to start. So I would say there's nothing you need to know. There are certain questions that might be more relevant to the kinds of help we can provide. But again, if it's not something that we provide, we're not going to just leave you there. We're going to find somebody that we might be able to refer you towards, find other open resources. Again, I loved what Amanda was just talking about in terms of, if you have 3 business ideas, well, maybe you have no business ideas. A lot of these tools help you discover possible businesses. And I really, as I'm in this role, I'm always like, oh, maybe I should do that business, or maybe I could do this business, or wouldn't this be a cool business? And I think, it's really exciting to kind of see what possibilities are out there and discoverable through using the resources that we would also use to answer real specific questions that people bring our way. So I just can't tell you how the range of different types of instances, business types, people that we get to work with in this capacity. So no, there's nothing you need to know except how to sign up for an appointment with any of us, any 3 of our libraries.
That's awesome.
So can I just butt in quick? And I wanted to mention, because we keep saying business, and I just want to make it clear, we'll help people with side hustles too. You do not have to be like working full time on this, planning to make this your full life. If you just have an idea for something little that's going to be 5 hours a week, that's fine. So side hustles, welcome.
That's great, Amanda. And it was a great way to point that out. So that was awesome. Emily, did you have anything else to add there?
No, I agree with what Jay and Amanda have said. Yeah, we're here to help, and we'll help you figure out what kind of help you need if that's the stage that you're at. So come and let us know.
Perfect. So we've kind of been talking about some resources, and just to kind of get some clarity, I would love to kind of like really ask the question, after mentioning some of those resources, what can the library help you with? And what are some of those limitations? And we'll go ahead and get started with Jay.
Yeah, and I think we've all been kind of mentioning the types of things that we do help with, but yeah, there are some definite limitations and areas where it's not our role to do certain things, right? So we are information professionals. Our domain and our expertise primarily lies, I know we all have different expertise and things like that, but we primarily are the information experts. So we can help you and advise you in that capacity. Now, if someone says, should I do this, or should I do that, or should I become, this type of legal, should my business be this legal structure or this, that is a limitation that we have. We cannot tell you, or, which way to go with that. That's just not our role there. That would be something that would be better suited to be referred out to for an advisor, a business mentor, a business coach. But again, we could put you in front of the resources that would allow you to make the decision as to whether one way or the other is a good way to go. Trying to think if, yeah, those are the big limitations. Again, legal type things, we're not lawyers. I won't speak for anyone else, but I know I'm not. And if anyone is asking legal type things, there's some stops that I have to put in place where I cannot, really advise. But again, we have resources that can help you find free legal help, basically. So anyways, you just have to ask. We'll do our best to see where we can point you.
And kind of thinking about the resources, and because I know my own personal experiences that different libraries have different resources. So what happens if I live in an area, can I contact a different library even if I don't live in that specific area? Amanda?
Yeah, you can. Colorado is actually really innovative in this way, and the majority of public libraries in Colorado will give anyone who lives in the state of Colorado a library card. And so we librarians love to collect our library cards, and we'll often refer patrons to other libraries if we happen to know that they have a really great resource that would be valuable. And similarly, I mean, if we're working the reference desk and somebody's like, oh my gosh, I really wanted to get this particular book, we'll go find it somewhere else. So that's, a huge part of library land.
Certainly what I'm hearing is there's so many resources that y'all have at the libraries. Are there any costs to these resources, Emily?
Not for people who come to us, that is all taken care of by library budget stuff. So the patron never sees any of that. So getting our services as far as coming and talking to us, there's no restrictions on that. But if you want access to some of the resources we've been talking about, we've been kind of teasing out some of the, the fun things that we can help you data mine, you will need a library card, but those are free. And, like Amanda said, get them from everywhere, anywhere that will be useful to you. So yep, we pay for them, and sometimes there's a pretty hefty price tag. So let us buy those institutional accounts and make them available to you, and you can save your money for the other things that you need for your business.
That's awesome. So I've heard a few of you mention other organizations that you'll connect with. What other business organizations do you interact with your patrons? Amanda?
Yeah, so two that jump to mind for me are the Colorado Business Committee for the Arts, which is an amazing organization that helps lots of our arts organizations and nonprofits get information about what sort of value they're providing to Denver and the state of Colorado. And then another one that's local for me is the Denver South organization that's helping grow our businesses down here in the South Denver metro and creating like real opportunities for entrepreneurs to connect and share ideas. And so those are two great organizations.
Awesome. Emily, love to hear.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. We often will refer people out for mentoring and support of that kind to groups like SCORE, SCORE, a great local branch available in the metro area. And they have wonderful webinars and live events when they can safely, of course. And also a really robust mentorship program as well. So that's a great one that we like to make sure people are aware of, because we can help with some things, but people in business, in the know, in the industries, they can help in different ways and provide support that really should come from within. So
that's great. Jay, did you have any other that you've worked with and referred people out to?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to mention really quickly, SCORE is just a great one, and they're a nationwide nonprofit that works with people in that capacity. They, in the last year, I want to say, have just been really doing great work with their webinar series. I've just been seeing tons of different, really diverse different programs and everything. So keep on, or get on their newsletters and things like that, where you can start seeing that type of stuff. But a lot of them are free, not all of them are, but a lot of them are, and that's pretty neat. So I've been really excited to see that. A few other organizations you've mentioned, Paul, the Small Business Development Center. They're they're great, and they're all over the state. And so there's different chapters throughout the state that people can reach out to. They have these 10-week courses called, they're branded as the leading edge. And so they help people learn about entrepreneurship and get their business off the ground. And so that's a great organization. In Denver, there's one called the Commons on Champa. Really great people that also do a lot of mentorship and advising and things. Another really great one is called the Mi Casa Resource Center, and just wonderful people and doing really great work. Another
And in
small
Spanish.
one. Yes, they do a lot of classes in Spanish, absolutely. And I've actually heard that their class leaders now are all bilingual, so it's great. They're just an amazing organization. And one other that I'll speak to is called the Rocky Mountain Microfinance Institute, and I just love the philosophy behind the strategy of microfinancing and helping those who don't need huge loans. They just need things to kind of get going, and they have a program that builds on these small loans, and they're basically grants. They're not loans. They're money that these folks that go through their program, they don't have to repay those loans. It's brought through the nonprofit organization, raises those funds to be able to do that. So those are a few that I work with, that I admire, and that I think are doing incredible work for the small business community. So we're really lucky in the Denver Metro Front Range area to have so many amazing resources and organizations that we can reach out to.
Certainly makes me excited about living in Colorado, hearing all of the resources you're mentioning and the amount of information that the libraries have. It's pretty cool. So, so how do I get in touch with y'all? What is that process? What does that look like? Who would like to take that one? Amanda?
Yeah, sure, I can start. So to request an appointment with me, you would go to the Arapahoe Library's webpage, and you'll find the Ask a Librarian, or under Services Business Help. And in either of those spots, you can submit a request for an appointment. And it's great to have you use that portal because it gives you an opportunity to answer a couple questions that will help me respond in the most useful way. And it also allows us to triage to other folks as well. So we won't be giving out our email addresses today, just because it could be a deluge. We're hoping to speak to lots of you.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. Emily, how do we get in contact?
Our program for Jefferson County Public Library is called Book a Librarian. See what we did there with the book. But we'll talk about all kinds of things, and one of them is business help for sure. So on our website, we have an intake form. You just click on services, Book a Librarian is right there. Again, like Amanda said, if you do it this way, you get to answer a few questions. We're not asking you to pre-prepare, but just give us some, information to get started, and we'll get back to you within just a few days, 3 days at the most, and start talking with you about what we can do and how we could set something up for some one-on-one time. And we are very excited to be able to, follow up with people. We offer up to 3 appointments with any individual per month. So we'll love to, keep working with people and make sure they're, continuing to get the information and support that they need for their process. So
awesome. Yeah. A quick question. Can we also come into the library to connect with y'all, or make a phone call as well? Does that work as well for the kind of connecting with you? Jay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. We have multiple ways that we can get, or you can get in contact with us. So at the Denver Public Library, we have a really great chat reference service. So if you are interested in just kind of chatting in, you'll be speaking directly with a human being, a librarian on the other end. You can also call. We have a Spanish phone line as well. And you can also email us. So if you have something that needs to be, attached, or a longer explanation about something that's necessary, that can happen. In terms of the appointments that our service does, ours is very similar to how Emily mentioned at Jeffco and Amanda mentioned at Arapahoe. that we have an intake form similar to theirs, a few little questions that folks can ask. Again, that gives us a sense of, do we have that kind of information? Should we be referring you elsewhere? Are you just looking for kind of an overview of the resources? That lets us set a little bit of expectation about what we can and maybe can't do. And then, yeah, they'll hear back from us, and we'll set up a time that's conducive to both of us. We've been doing a lot of online, Zoom, Google Meets type things, which I think is really helpful. At the Denver Public Library, where I work, it's usually out of the central branch, which is right downtown. And if y'all have been there, it's not the best for parking. It's really actually very difficult to park there. And so using, online tools like this allows people to be wherever they need to be or are, to have the same experience, and we can share our screens and show everybody through all the resources. So yep, multiple ways to do that. And we will, if you would prefer to meet in person, we can totally arrange that. So I know some people definitely prefer that, and we'll do our best to make that happen. Yeah.
That's great. So we can connect with y'all. Entrepreneurs can connect with y'all via online, via Zoom. I'm assuming both Amanda and Emily, they can reach out that way as well and make connection and appointments that way. That's great. Perfect. So this last question's for all three of you. We'll start with Amanda. What can a startup, now that they filled out their form, they've contacted y'all, what can a startup expect when they contact you? What is kind of that next step? Amanda?
Sure. So once I get their request, I will reach out and see if they want to find a mutually convenient time to meet. Sometimes the question is really easy. They're just like, hey, I want to know how many hair salons are in downtown Denver. And in that case, I might just be like, hey, I can send you that. And if they're like, cool, we'll keep it to that. I'll just send them the list. But otherwise, a lot of folks don't know what they don't know. And so they love to get a chance to sit down and talk through and see, oh, geez, should you include barbershops and that sort of stuff? So we'll have the appointment. Arapahoe Libraries does both in person and virtual via Zoom or phone. And so during the appointment, we'll talk through the different things that could be helpful. If someone wants to learn how to do it themselves, or if I think it's going to be really valuable to learn how to do it themselves. Like a great example is whenever I meet with people like window walkers or dog groomers, I'm always like, I want to show you how to get lists of people who could be your customers, because postcards or mailers might be awesome for you. And you might want to do this a lot. And so we'll get into it, and I may do some demos for them. And then after the session, I will put together a summary report of what we covered, because let's be honest, while we librarians think our databases are amazing and we've learned how to use them and we love them, most people kind of glaze over when they see all the clicking we do. So we want to give them stuff to refer back to, so that they're not just like, oh, I'm in a daze. I don't remember like half of what I just saw happen. And then if there's a report, so, if I ran that list of hair salons and of barbershops, and maybe we decided to add another area to it, I'll also attach all of those to an email I'll send with my summary report. So that's my typical process. And then I didn't get a chance, I forgot to mention it earlier, folks are able to contact me up to once a week. Right now, if demand gets really high, we might have to change that around a little bit just to be able to provide service to everyone. But that's where we're at right now.
Awesome. Jay or Emily, did you have follow up on what kind of they can expect once they contact y'all?
Emily, do you want to?
Sure. It's pretty similar to what Amanda said. We'll get back in touch and we'll set up the mutually beneficial time if it's going to be a real-time thing. But we're happy to, like Amanda said, send along information. If it's really just a simple, I need this piece of data, we can do that. Right now, we're doing a lot of our appointments by phone or with our virtual Zoom platform, which has been really convenient and great. We have the service designed to be in person as well. And we are currently at Jefferson County offering just the remote options, but we are certainly looking forward to being able to add back in that in-person piece where we can choose a library location of your choice and just meet you there, spend 45 minutes to an hour with you, and follow up by email if needed. So we're available multiple ways, and we'll make sure that it's comfortable and that it works for you and that you get the help you need when you need it. So it's meant to be, kind of the best possible flexibility that we can offer to everybody. So
awesome. Thanks, Emily. And just to throw out there, there's more than just 3 libraries around here that we can contact that can help with entrepreneurs, correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Awesome. So I could keep asking questions all day because I absolutely love doing this. The amount of information that you all have is just amazing. And so thank you for everyone sharing here your insights into how the library can help you. And I would love to hear just kind of a final thought from everybody. We'll start with Amanda.
As you can see, we're all friendly, pretty chipper people and would just love to help you. So I hope that if anything, this session has given you some ideas for what you might reach out to your librarian about and shown you that we're not stuffy folks who will shush you if you talk out of turn or something. Though we do mostly wear glasses, apparently.
Apparently. Thanks, Amanda. Jay?
Yeah, the glasses prerequisite, I think. But I always come back to how proud it makes me to get a chance to work with those folks who, again, are looking to change their situations. I just feel super privileged to be able to help in that capacity. So I would just say we are here to support. We're here to help. We want to be that support network that's really necessary because this stuff is hard. What I mentioned, I have the background in academic librarianship where I was helping people a lot of times work on their first research projects. I always mentioned that is kind of the culmination of all of the critical thinking skills that young people are developing, and research is no joke. It is not easy. Some comes a little easier to some people than others, but it is never really an easy thing. And I don't think anybody should be ashamed that they need to reach out and find that help for it, because it is one of the most difficult things to do well, and it's intimidating in a lot of ways. And a lot of times we're sifting through mountains of information. So that's my takeaway. We're here to support you. We want to see you succeed, and we'll do our best to see that happen.
Thank you, Jay. And Emily.
Well, I just want to add that we don't want to be the best kept secret in town. We want to make sure that the word gets out about what the library can do for people in all sorts of circumstances. And so I just hope that hearing just a little bit today is going to kind of, spark that in your brain later on. Reach out to us. We are just a friendly sampling of the librarians that are around the metro area and beyond that are ready to help you. So wherever it's convenient for you, check in, find out what they have. If you, just give us a chance, we'll talk your ear off about what we can do for you. We want to help. So we really appreciate the opportunity to have been in front of you guys today, and hope that you'll spread the word and use the libraries. They're here for you. And I also want to go ahead and extend our thanks to Paul Weinrauch from Red Rocks Community College for being our moderator today. We were so pleased to have his support and help with us, and thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you to the Denver Startup Week for allowing us to share the public libraries with the community. And now it's your turn to ask questions. If you haven't done so, you can add your questions to the chat now. We are going live.
Well, thank you everyone for joining. And I'm Kelsey Ashton. I'm with the Jefferson County Public Library. And let's go ahead and dive into a couple of these questions that were posed during this session. So I'm going to get started. Bear with me. I'm scrolling up in my chat. It was a question posed earlier. The question is, I am a business person, not an academic, but in the past, I've stumbled onto useful data for my business, hidden within academic papers, journals, etc. How much help can my public librarian be in accessing these articles and papers, and even in interpreting them? Who might want to answer that one?
I'll start off with an answer, Kelsey. I think this is a great question, and this is a great example of when a one-on-one appointment like Book a Librarian can really get you that personal assistance to help you get to the answers that you need. We do have products, and I think I can speak for all of us when I say that the library subscribe to resources that index and oftentimes have full text journal articles and periodicals, historical stuff and current stuff. So depending on what kind of question you're asking, we are well equipped to get you those results for journal articles and research and that sort of thing. So I won't talk about any particular what we call databases, because we probably have various ones, but just know that your public library can absolutely sit down with you and share with you how this would work, and make sure that you understand the search process and how to kind of compile things. So yeah, definitely reach out to us for those sorts of questions.
Thanks, Emily. Amanda, Jay, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, not for me.
I would just maybe say, on that, the question related to interpreting the resources, like the journals, and they can be, difficult, reading and things to interpret. So our skill set also revolves around information literacy. So we are here to help think through information as well, and make sure that that we're vetting information in ways that are going to be as useful for you, and we're making sure you're getting very authoritative resources, recognizing what constitutes an authoritative resource over something that's less authoritative. Especially if you're building a business plan, you're going to be reaching out to people that might help you finance, and you want to provide really authoritative, strong resources. So yeah, we would definitely be willing to help you interpret those to whatever degree and time that we have to be able to do that. But great question.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to prioritize the questions that we've not offered an answer to so far in some capacity. So another question that came in was, can you give an example of a sourcing? Sorry, I should read it verbatim. Can you give an example of a sourcing example?
I wonder if that, I know I mentioned something about sourcing. So please let me know if I'm thinking the wrong way here, but there are probably two ways you could kind of interpret that. One is, I think I had mentioned in terms of looking for, we have resources that can help you look for businesses that might help you with an aspect of your business. So maybe you need to source a particular product in order to be able to use it in your business, or a particular service or something. So that might be one way to do it. The other sourcing thought maybe has to do more maybe with like referencing your the work you're doing. So maybe you are trying to find sources or you're putting sources of information into a business plan, and you need to reference that and make sure the people, your audience, knows where you got that information. So I'm struggling to make sure that I'm answering the right kind of sourcing question there. So if you do have follow-up for that question, please let me know, and hopefully that we can get you a good answer.
Thank you, Jay. So we have another question. There's someone starting as a freelance designer, and they're not entirely sure what questions they should be asking. Could you maybe share some stories or resources that are dedicated to helping the arts and media?
I can take that one if you like. So I really enjoy working with artists, and have actually presented for Rhino Arts and other arts organizations in the past. And so some of the ways that I found we can be useful for artists is they're often looking for the best, well, not just the best galleries, but all the galleries where they can sell their products or potentially create relationships. So I've helped people find galleries in the places they're interested in showing, because it's often not just your town. You want to have a mix. Like I know a ceramic artist who wants to make sure she's here in Denver, but also down in Santa Fe, because ceramics are popular there, and then in some of the ski towns. and on the East Coast, et cetera. So we found gallery lists. And then we've also looked at the demographics of the people who are not coming to art fairs, but live near where art fairs are, because when you're choosing an art fair to show your works at and paying for a place to do that, you'll want to select the best ones for the type of art you have, and who can afford the types of things you're perhaps selling. And then lastly, there's really good articles out there on how to network with galleries. So I've often helped folks do research just on best practices for getting that really awesome gallery that you think might never notice you or hasn't just responded to your email to be interested in what you're doing. So I know that's all more art space, but I do promise there's cool stuff we can do for graphic designers as well.
Great, thanks, Amanda. Jay, Emily, any other thoughts?
I guess I'd like to add that connections with groups like the Colorado Business Committee for the Arts that Amanda had mentioned earlier as a partner or referral in the community might be a really good system of support for designers and arts-based entrepreneurs. So finding those local chapters or local groups that really specialize in supporting art for business can be helpful. So one thought for another way to go too.
Great, thank you. Next question. Do you have insight on job seekers? Have you seen an uptick in job seekers looking for services?
I'll start just to say that, it often gets kind of the job seeking services that are out there sometimes get kind of lumped into the business help stuff. And I will just honestly say that I don't see a lot of that myself. We really tend to get folks who are really about starting particular businesses, but we have as a system, we have support for that, and we're actually looking to probably ramp up quite a bit of that support, just obviously because of where we're at in post-COVID world, or mid-COVID world. I'm not sure how to really describe that, but yeah. So I would say that it's really not the purview of my particular role to do that, but our libraries are absolutely doing that kind of work. You will find almost every public library with some sort of support, either services that are offered or also just databases and resources for looking for jobs, building up resumes, getting skills for interviews and things like that. We recently had a colleague find another local organization, so it's also something that we might find partners who are doing similar work. We don't always want to recreate the work that our wonderful nonprofit, and foundation organizations around the area are doing. So we'll often refer folks out if they're doing something along those lines.
Thanks, Jay. So we have just 2 minutes left, and I think just one last question here. So they wonder if their information is confident, perhaps confidential is what they meant, and private. That's one part. And then the next part is, will your department assist with creating a phototype, perhaps prototype? And does the library have resources to help someone get off the ground floor? And Amanda, I'm going to pass that one to you.
Sure, yeah. So first off, yes, meeting with librarians is a private and confidential thing. Most of us belong to the American Library Association, and a part of that is a very strong value of the privacy of our patrons and protecting their privacy. We'll never talk about what we learned about from you, we'll never share it with other patrons or other staff members. So that's important to us. In fact, we all chose case examples that were kind of generic so that nobody felt like their privacy was being breached. And then as to prototyping, so many libraries have maker spaces these days, and there is free or cheap 3D printing available. So that can be an option. I know often prototyping will involve larger parts. So it's more likely we'd help you find other resources in the area that might be able to assist with that, because it's often a little bit outside of our maker spaces. But it's probably a great place to start, because the tech specialists and the folks who are working with those spaces know about resources that can help you continue that prototyping journey. It's a lot like that on-ramp, off-ramp conversation we had earlier.
Wonderful. Thanks, Amanda. And I know we're really close to time, so thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you to Paul for moderating, and thank you to Denver Startup Week for having us today.